Before discussing my outlook on the Silent Hill 2 remake, I would like to clarify that this is not a video expressing hate towards the remake. I simply want to share my view on why I don't believe the remake will capture the essence of the original Silent Hill 2 game. I'm actually looking forward to the Silent Hill 2 remake to see how it turns out, and to hopefully be proven wrong. To be honest, I completed my first playthrough of Silent Hill 2 on April 28th, 2023. My first experience with the Silent Hill series was with the musical soundtrack of the third game. These songs absolutely slapped, so I finally decided to try the games out myself, and I'm glad I did because Silent Hill 2 is now one of my favorite pieces of media of all time. I found great interest in playing as James Sunderland and seeing his story unfold while exploring the world of Silent Hill. I've always been a fan of psychological horror, as I find it incredibly intriguing when media can scare me in an emotional way. Silent Hill 2 delivers this experience in a way that only a video game can. Its story is told through the use of different visuals that combine to create an experience that is both disturbing and beautiful. While the visual design choices of the game may be outdated when compared to today's standards, those visuals are what give Silent Hill its distinct identity. The Silent Hill 2 remake will reimagine the visuals and gameplay mechanics of the original game, but in my honest opinion, I think that by doing so, it will also strip away what made the original so effective at delivering a psychological horror experience in the first place. In reality, Silent Hill 2 is a product of its time, and it shows in every detail presented. These details that are outdated work in favor of the game's attempt at being unsettling and evoking emotions from the player. I don't think that slapping a shiny coat of paint on it and making it run in 4K will be enough to really capture what Team Silent was able to present to the world back in 2001. One of the most iconic visual designs of Silent Hill is its fog. When people think of the town, the first thing that may come to mind is the thick fog that permeates throughout its streets. In fact, the developers of the first 4 Silent Hill games, Team Silent, included fog in the first game due to hardware limitations that caused poor draw distance on the original PlayStation. Since then, they've cleverly used fog not only to shape the visual design of Silent Hill, but also to build on the lore of the town. The fog in Silent Hill 2 makes it difficult to see anything in the environment. As a player, you are unable to clearly make out what lies ahead, and with the danger of enemies lurking around every corner, a great sense of emotional tension washes over you as you make your way to your next objective. I'm happy to know that fog will be making a return in the Silent Hill 2 remake. However, my only concern is how well the fog segments will translate into the updated visual style. In the original game, the accompanying outdated graphics added to the effectiveness of the fog segments. The muddiness of it all blended everything together, making it harder to discern what was in front of you. While I know this may not be the best concern to bring up, I think it's a good starting point for my other concerns regarding the updated visual style of Silent Hill 2. One of the more subtle details of the original Silent Hill 2 was the film grain screen filter. The developers used film grain to hide the game's visual imperfections, such as low-resolution textures, but it also served as a tool to let players know when an enemy is nearby. The film grain adds both an eerie and beautiful quality to every location in the game. It reminds me of older found footage movies, back when it was a new thing, and audiences were still trying to figure out if what they were seeing was real or not. The way I see it, the use of film grain was a design choice molded by its era, especially given the fact that this game came out during a time when most people still had CRTVs in their homes. The screen filter serves as a bridge between the player's world and the game's world. By using something that exists in the player's world as a visual to enhance storytelling, the screen filter can make the game feel more immersive. This is reminiscent of that part in Metal Gear Solid where the game makes the player believe that Psycho Mantis is taking over the player's PS2. The little green text in the corner of the screen felt authentic, as it was a common feature of CRTVs at the time. Both these games use real-world visuals to enhance the eerie atmosphere. Based on the Silent Hill 2 remake trailer alone, I assume that the film grain screen filter will not be included in the game. I understand that the remake is going for a modern visual style, and the inclusion of film grain, especially as it looked in the original, would not make sense to include in the newer version. However, to me, that is a major problem. The absence of the film grain in the game would be a major letdown, considering how much it added to the original game's overall visual identity. It would just be as detrimental as removing the fog. I hope that players will at least be given the option to toggle the screen effect in the display settings. One of the last things I want to bring up in the visual style department are the resolution textures and low polygon counts. While this game does not look the best to today's standards, I think its outdated graphics are what help make the game unsettling. Similar to how the fog makes things hard to make out, the outdated graphics make certain things hard to visually comprehend. One of the scariest things in real life is the unknown, and I think that the graphics in the original game help establish that kind of fear by making the danger blend in with the environment. For instance, when I first saw Pyramid Head doing whatever the hell he was doing to that mannequin, the graphics made me second guess what I was looking at. It just looked very uncanny, which made it very disturbing. The fog obscures what lies ahead, but the poor graphics elevate the fear factor by making it difficult to tell what you're looking at. This creates a sense of unease and suspense, as you're never quite sure what might be lurking in the environment. The Silent Hill 2 remake will undoubtedly look visually beautiful. If the game comes anywhere close to looking like the trailer, it will be a sight to behold. However, I believe that enhancing the visuals for a game like Silent Hill 2 will only do more harm than good. The problem is that when everything begins to look clearer, that sense of the unknown begins to wither. This is why great horror movies with minimal jump scares work so well. These kind of movies rely more on atmosphere than on showing off their visual eye candy that is usually a big CGI monster anyway. Sure, it's nice to see how detailed something can be in 4K, but I don't think that's really necessary for it to be scary. Making everything about the game look clear and realistic will only make it less scary in my opinion. There is something special about the look of the CGI cutscenes in the original Silent Hill 2. It has high level of uncanniness that creeps me out every time I think about it, but it is still nice enough where I don't want to look away. Many modern day gamers are not used to fixed camera angles. This is understandable considering that many games are no longer made with them. The main reason why modern gamers don't like fixed camera angles is because these types of games are usually paired up with tank controls. For those unfamiliar with this type of control scheme, tank controls require you to control movement relative to your character's position, rather than the perspective of the game camera. This can be difficult to get used to, and can make it even more difficult to control your character during intense moments. While I personally don't mind tank controls, I can understand why some people might not want them in the remake. Similar to the newer Resident Evil games, the Silent Hill 2 remake will feature over-the-shoulder gameplay. However, I think that the new camera perspective is a mistake. The fixed camera angles of the original Silent Hill 2 were a big part of what made the game so intense. The limited field of view made it difficult to see enemies, which created a sense of suspense and dread. Additionally, the fixed camera angles often placed the player in vulnerable positions, which made the game even more terrifying. The combat in the original game was not the best, but I think that was sort of the point. James Sunderland is not a fighter type of character. He isn't a macho superhero dude that loves to punch boulders. No, instead he's this depressed, grieving man who's desperately trying to find his dead wife in a gloomy town. He's a character full of anguish, and his combat skills reflect this. Most of the time, it's more effective to run past enemies than to fight them. The lack of focus on combat enabled the player to immerse themselves even more in the atmosphere and in the story. The developers did a fantastic job of creating tension by utilizing the environment, its characters, and beautiful music to tell their story. I noticed that the developers for the Silent Hill 2 remake are emphasizing the improved combat. I don't think that the combat needs improving at all. It should focus on being a survival horror. If anything, the original gave way too much resources. Maybe if the remake made resources harder to get, then I wouldn't mind the improved combat so much. Like, imagine the wooden plank having a durability meter, or if resources altogether became less abundant. That would make relying on combat less effective, and in turn make the game more intense and scary. Yeah, I would definitely prefer that any day. In conclusion, Bloober Team will have to add something innovative to make the Silent Hill 2 remake work. As it stands, aside from the impressive graphics, nothing about the trailer has assured me that the remake will deliver on what the original had established. The original Silent Hill 2 is a work of art that was effective at storytelling because of the design choices made due to the technological limitations of its time. It's a lightning in a bottle kind of game, so trying to recapture what the original was able to do will most certainly be challenging for the new developers. I wish Bloober Team the best of luck. Thank you for watching.